Tēnā Mr. Speaker, kia ora tātou te whare tēnei rā. Mr. Speaker, earlier this week we celebrated 10 years since Tariana Tūria was elected as the first Māori Party MP, and her ability to speak in the House shaped not so much her ability, but certainly what she said in the House at that time certainly shaped where we've come from. Mr. Speaker, in her first address on the 27th of July 2004, she said this, quote, "We are here today to say loud and clear that being Māori has everything to do with how well we do in life. We will restore to ourselves our rightful place as tangata whenua, and we will need no one else's permission than ourselves. We can do this, and we can do it now." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, it's appropriate in this last speech of the 50th Parliament for the Māori Party to acknowledge the legendary impact and influence of two of the finest Māori leaders that I've had the privilege to know. It's been a huge honour for me to work with them and be with them on our journey, and I will miss them both. Tariana and Peter have transformed the priorities of policy agencies, the agenda of government, and the attitude of New Zealanders by their unstinting belief in the potential of whānau to do for themselves. Their legacy is written into the hearts and minds of our people through their historic signing of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the substantial investment allocated to the Māori economic and social development across subsequent budgets, and of course the unique and life-changing approach that most of us know as whānau ora. So we have seen the influence of whānau ora spreading into the housing sector, with Te Pau Matakana Commission Agency now responsible for management and distribution of Māori housing funding. And here she is. Hey. We have seen its impact on the disability sector, with Enabling Good Lives representing the aspirations of disabled persons and their families to determine their own destiny. We've experienced the power of whānau ora recognised in Wakahaurua, the national suicide prevention approach for Māori and Pasifika communities, and E Tū Whānau, and in Ngā Whaka o Kāinga Tapu, family violence solutions grown by, delivered to and from local communities themselves, who are best able to create their own answers. Mr. Speaker, when we signed up to the relationship accord with the government in December 2011, our first priority was to support the evolving focus and ongoing implementation of whānau ora. And I pledge my absolute commitment to you, Tariana Tūria, that I will continue to hold subsequent governments to account to protect that kaupapa that our people know and love. E kōkoia e arai. Mr. Speaker, we have been fascinated by the interest of some of the parties in this House who suddenly want to review it, amend it, and shut it down. Well, I'll be doing absolutely everything in my power, and I will be trying to encourage as best I can those parties to get over themselves and to put faith in our families. They know what's right for them. Mr. Speaker, the second and third milestones of our relationship accord was focused on eliminating poverty through a ministerial committee on poverty. We are really proud that this government agreed to bring together a coordinated ministerial focus to poverty. During the 2005 Parliament, when of course Labour wasn't at the helm, there was a massive 335 pages of Hansard recorded questions, debates, speeches in which the Māori Party MPs asked the government to prioritise families experiencing severe or significant poverty and hardship. The 335 pages got us nowhere, with Labour failing to even agree to a benchmark definition of poverty from which to measure progress. Mr. Speaker, in contrast, we've been really pleased at the scope of influence that committee had. Through our negotiations with the government, over 65 million has been invested in addressing rheumatic fever, over 100 million in home insulation targeting low-income families. A warrant of fitness for rental housing has been initiated. 90 million was invested in primary school-aged children now able to go to the doctor for free any time of the day or night and get a prescription as well, all for free. So there's still work to do. But the important thing is that because we do have a relationship with the government, we are able to raise those issues directly, rather than being from behind the megaphone or in question time from the crossbenches. Mr. Speaker, I did want to acknowledge the willingness of the Prime Minister and his Deputy, the Honourable Bill English, for always making space available for us to raise issues and to review policies and priorities, to face up whenever we had brought challenges to the table. Ka nui te mihi kia kōrua. Mr. Speaker, it has been a relationship based on mutual respect that the Honourable Bill English mentioned earlier, and it is something that I can tell the House that we definitely value highly. It has meant that we can oppose their key policies without flinching, such as Asset Sales or Resource Management Act. Our vote on the latter has been crucial in stopping the legislation in its tracks. He mentioned 90 bills. We might go for 100 next time. But be that as it may, I want to just point out the obvious irony recently, this last couple of 24 hours, in fact, in ACT, New Zealand First and Mana even, all issuing statements speaking out against race-based policies, or the missed opportunity of the local government, which has passed into law on Tuesday, despite the contribution of two Māori MPs from Labour and the Greens. Mr. Speaker, we voted against the Local Government Act because of the way in which it undermines the statutory significance of Māori representation. We met with the Minister and subsequently wrote to him making two recommendations. One, a first principles review on Māori representation, including the impact of the Māori Statutory Board in Auckland, a key initiative established as a result of Peter's negotiation in Cabinet. And the other was to initiate a joint work program with the Ministries of Māori Affairs and Internal Affairs to increase and improve Māori participation in local government processes. Mr. Speaker, my point is that while mainstream parties inevitably complain loudly or do nothing, we have always been about getting around the table and making a difference. Māori MPs and mainstream parties will always be under the influence of their respective leaders and party policies. And we all know how Māori feature under that. We just have to remember the foreshore and seabed. I remember, sir, a phrase that the late Eva Rickard used when she decided to leave Mana Motuhake, when they chose to come under the umbrella of the Alliance Party. Her summing up of the situation for Māori-based parties in alliance with another rings a sound message, I think, for us today. She said, "Dead fish flow with the current." Well, we've seen the fate of dead fish before in this Parliament, Mr. Speaker, and we, the Māori Party, are obviously determined to maintain our uniqueness, our precious earned reputation as the strong, independent Māori voice in Parliament with influence. This is about survival, as Professor Whatarangi Winiata used to tell us. It is about tino rangatiratanga. It is about maintaining the integrity of the Māori seats. So I do want to make a brief mention of our other parties with dollars in their eyes, or parties that like to party. There's nothing wrong with a bit of stunt politics to generate interest, Mr. Speaker, in the electoral process. But my only hope is that the Electoral Commission could put to use the resources of such a benefactor to the vital job ahead, and that is in lifting the Māori vote. In a democracy, every vote counts, and we have been bitterly disappointed at the failure of the electoral system to get the vote out amongst Māori communities in particular. Mr. Speaker, the Māori Party will continue to speak truths about the issues that confront us. We've had bills passed to prevent gambling, multiple interventions in tobacco reform. We have and will continue to call for a review of the justice sector to eliminate institutional racism that stymies the lives of our people. While others may talk on and on about pipeline dreams, the Māori Party, we've got on with the job. We have extended Kickstart Breakfast to bring food into the schools, every school in the country. We've introduced the Māori history in schools, and we've advocated the recognition of cultural significance, and on and on. I think that we've done the nation proud by the efforts that we've been able to introduce into this country, and we look forward to a further term. Mr. Speaker, in the time that I have, I just want to say that in terms of the Māori Party, our energy has never been higher to support the challenges our people entrust with us. And I do want to say in closing, pay a huge tribute to the cast of hundreds that provide us amazing support in this Parliament, the messengers, the cleaners, the caterers, the translators in particular, who haven't been mentioned today. Ka nui te mihi kia koutou e homa. The Office of the Clerk, Security, IT, the librarians, Hansards, the reception team, the building staff, all of our own staff in our offices, our electorate teams and our membership, and just in particular the parliamentary teams, because they've always shown us huge respect and we appreciate that. And we're not always perhaps give that, but we do appreciate it, and just to thank them so much and wish everybody well in the next election.
The Speaker.
I call Honi Hauera.
Hono hei kōlero tuatahi